Welcome into KOIN Conversations. I am Travis Tyke, morning anchor at KOIN 6 and co-host of our news and lifestyle show, AM Extra on Portland CW. In this episode of KOIN Conversations, we're going to dive into the life of local theater, and we have Donnie Horn with us here on this episode of KOIN Conversations, the founder of Triangle Productions over in Northeast Portland. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. We've been talking just a little bit before, 36 years at Triangle Productions. It is feeling like almost 4 decades, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I actually have a room that I have with all the books. There's 350 books of every show. And so when you stand in that room and go, oh my, that's my life.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Been there the whole time.
Yeah.
It's an awesome spot. It's a place that I got introduced to last year when we worked on a story together. You were working on a production of Darcel's story called Darcel, That's No Lady.
Yes.
I had that, and that was not the first time that you had put on that production, but it was the first time I had a chance to walk in to your setup at Triangle Productions. How would you describe it? How would you describe what you've curated at Triangle Productions?
Well, this is like the 7th place I've had in Portland, and I've been there 15, almost 16 years. Mm-hmm. It used to be Farmers Insurance regional headquarters, and then it was Salvation Army, and then I took over the lower half. So there's like 30,000 square feet in the lower half. And with 2 theater spaces and a rehearsal room, it works just great because you have a large space and a small space. And parking, thank God.
it's a nice piece.
Yes.
We'll start from the beginning here. If somebody's watching this and they're like, you know what, I've never heard of Triangle Productions. How would you describe it?
Well, I started the company, I was an actor in Portland before this, and I wrote a play about people who survived somebody who died of AIDS. And I couldn't get it produced. Nobody wanted to produce it. There was only 8 theaters in town that would do. And then somebody said, why don't you produce it yourself? And I did. And it was a hit, which is a surprise to me first time out. And a lady came up to me and punched me in the gut and said, why don't you talk about women and AIDS? And I'm going, I don't know anything about this. And this was 1990. And she said, I'm HIV positive and I'm pregnant.
Wow.
And over 6 months, I talked to her about her process, and then the baby was born, and then she passed away. And I wrote a play about it. And odd thing that happened was that fall there was a show called there was a conference in town. 500 people were coming, women and children HIV, and so I got to present my play to that conference. And I'm like going, this is wrong. I'm supposed to only do one play, and that's it. And it just kept snowballing.
Wow. I mean, when you go think about the roots of what you've built at Triangle Productions, again, on your website, you also make a point of this, one of the longest run LGBTQ plus theaters in the area and across the country.
Yes.
And you talk about the timeliness, of course, the HIV/AIDS epidemic of the late 80s, mid 80s, into the early 90s there, very top of mind. What does it mean to you to be able to say that you were giving a voice to, back when?
Well, it's interesting. I didn't realize this until just recently. Somebody said, you're about the first person that talked about surviving, people who survived as a family, also women and AIDS, and then also wrote a play about Alzheimer's. And this was back in the early 90s, where these things weren't talked about, or they were talked about in a different way. And so I feel very proud. And then going into what I'm doing now, it feels like these are handed to me from heaven or whatever and said, you got to do these now. And it just over 36 years has happened.
Yeah.
It's not something I planned. I want you to know that.
Yeah, no. Well, and I think that's what I think that's what stands out to me in a lot of your work, even today. I'm not going to pretend like I was there 36 years ago, watching your productions in the early 90s, but you fast forward to now and it's authentic. Right, and that's how we met, was over producing a story with your production last year of Darcel, That's No Lady. I do have some video here of that production. It was really fun to cue this up and to be able to get a look into the lens. And I don't come from a theater background, and it was fun to be able to pick your brain about this production here, not just from a theater lens, but because of your connection to the community, and in this case, particularly Darcel, Walter Cole. Yeah. This is a production that you have put on before. Before I ask you about it, just describe exactly what this piece was about for you.
Well, Roxy, his partner, had passed, and I called him up. I was in Palm Springs, and I said, I'll be home tomorrow. I need to see you. And he was distraught. His life, had been together like 32 years. Mm-hmm. And when I sit down with him, he said, I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to just move on. And I said, I'll be here every day, and we're going to talk about it. Because I said, I need to know your history. And over those years, we became dear friends. We walked during, COVID and the whole bit. I learned a lot about how he became this icon in Portland, from just being this little boy from Linton, Oregon, to becoming who he was. And I thought, I love these kind of stories. I want to hear more about how people who were nothing, or they came from nothing to where they were. Right. Walter really was an inspiration to me because he was bigger than life, but at home he was just Walter Cole. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to see both sides. I didn't want to have the makeup on all the time. I wanted to see he was behind the makeup.
Mm-hmm. Well, and again, that's how you brought this authenticity to it, right? Between, in this case, Walter's a dear friend. Mm. You're also getting ready to start or as the time of this airing, you will have already launched your run with the production about Gert Boyle, the matriarch behind Columbia Sportswear. So what is this? What is that experience like, going from telling this story about Darcel and a dear friend, and that production was one you put on, both before and after he had passed away, to this production here called It's Not All About Me, about Gert Boyle, maybe somebody who you don't have quite as close of a personal connection with.
Well, it's interesting. I have a home in Greece, and I was writing a play about, again, another person in Portland, in Oregon, called Johnny Ray, entertainer Johnny Ray. And I was typing away, and I stepped back, and I looked over, and I said, there's my book. It's Gert Boyle. Why'd I bring this with me? And I picked it up, and I went, Johnny Ray, goodbye. And I read Gert, and the thing that got me about Gert was that she sacrificed. She wasn't the originator of Columbia Sportswear. Mm. Her father was. Mm-hmm. And when he died and then her husband died, she was left with this massive debt, this massive life, that she was a homemaker. And so she took this on. I thought that was thrilling. But then also find out that she had just escaped Germany right before the fall of Germany. And then her aunt and people like that died in prisoner of war camps. Mm-hmm. And I'm like going, this is exciting, because to me, there's somebody I don't know, but everybody honors her. And I thought people need to know more about this story.
Yeah, yeah. What is it like to write these scripts and put on these plays of local icons? I mean, very different avenues between Gert Boyle and Walter Cole Darcel, but very much two people that throughout Portland and Oregon are revered and renowned. What is it like to put on these types of plays and write these scripts?
Well, it's interesting because we also did Tanya Harding. So, her birthday and my partner's birthday are the same day. Mm-hmm. So, there's that. I also wrote about Gracie Hansen, who was with Walter, had some, Walter actually started dressing like Gracie. Mm. And that really got me. There's a connection there. The thing with everybody is that they started somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I want to know their backstory, not what they did all the way through, but their backstory. When they take off the makeup, when they go to bed, because we all put our pants on the same way, right? Mm-hmm. But what did you do to change to become who you are? Yeah. What perception? Was there somebody there? Did somebody help you? I'm from the farm. My dad always told me I would be worth nothing. I would grow up to be nothing. So I believed that all my life. And it was hard to change that perception even in your own life. So I've always served out people that said, what did they do? Because if they can do it, I can do it. Anybody can do it.
What was that moment for you? What was that turning point for you when you're like, I'm not nothing?
There's a couple moments, actually. I have a very bad childhood, like a lot of people do. My dad divorced my mom and my mom's older sister. And she was pregnant, and then 3 days later, after they got married, the baby died. Oh. So they had to come home to diaper me. I never met my mom until I was 11 years old. So all that backstory about loving yourself, and people go, I have a great family life, the whole bit. I didn't. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn somehow to grab that, and I just did it over time. But the main thing was writing my book, Crumbs of Love, because I started realizing it's not my fault. Mm-hmm. I was never born. I was not meant to be born. I was born in a divorce. Mm-hmm. And once I started realizing I could do whatever I want, because it's not me that made this happen. It was their problem. I'm not carrying their problem. And a lot of people forget that. Mm-hmm. Your past is your past. Put it aside and live today, because this is all you got. You may not have tomorrow. So live today and love today. Mm-hmm. Look in the mirror and say, guess what? You may not be the best looking person. Your hair may be falling out. You may be too overweight. Everything that you think that people think of you, but love yourself. Because once you love yourself, you can do almost anything.
So what was this moment like for you when I mean, sharing your story, and then you have that moment that you had talked about earlier about you need to put on this production yourself, when you were first opening Triangle Productions, because that's how it was going to be done. If you didn't do it, nobody else was going to go do it. How much of that moment of breaking through and just putting your first production on stage, how much of that was a breakthrough that runs parallel to maybe that moment of like, I got to have the confidence to do it myself, otherwise it's just not going to get done?
Wow. It's so interesting because when you're told you're nobody and you're a nothing, you have a clean slate.
Mm.
You really do. Because you can regress to be a nothing, or you can say, I'll do it. There's a word there I wanted to say, but I did it. And I think what it was is sitting down with Jane Lancaster, who was at Firehouse Theater, and she said, Donnie, if no one does it, why don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, that's going to be my mantra the rest of my life, is that if nobody does it, and I'm criticized sometimes because I do write plays that people go, why are you writing this? Or a book, why are you writing this? I go, because nobody's done it yet. And if I don't do it, when does it get done?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I'm going to pass in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. I know my time's limited. But if I don't do it, who will?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful if somebody comes up and says, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the problem is history is only written by few to be read by many. Right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
huge what I say all the time.
Yeah.
So if we take these stories that I'm writing and let them tell the story through me
Mm-hmm.
and get as much information as possible. When I was writing the Gert Boyle play, I just reached out to a Jewish museum in Augsburg, Germany. That's what I do. I do my research because I want to know more about the backstory and not just what's been in the press.
So when you are writing these stories,
Mm-hmm.
let's go with the Gert Boyle one, because recency bias. You just brought that one up. Is your motivation? Is it a combination? I know we talked about your motivation, but is it a combination of, okay, you want to share this story, but do you feel like a sense of pressure that nobody else will share this story that you feel like needs to be shared? Is there like a responsibility factor that comes in with that?
I don't think it is that. I really don't. It's funny because there's a book out,
Mm-hmm.
One Tough Mother, that was written by her and Carrie. It wasn't that. It was like, I think people read, but other people don't.
Yeah.
And so if they can visualize it and hear it, that's the starting point of a conversation. Like, I did not know.
Mm-hmm.
I need to know more. Let me do more research. That's exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But if you say, here's a book, people go, yeah, put it on the shelf, thanks a lot. Where if you go to a play, there's a conversation. Other people in that room hear that conversation too. Mm-hmm. They'll hear laughter, they'll hear tears. They may walk out mad. Why did I come see this play? Why did I do this? Other people go, oh my God, I need to know more. Mm. That sparks me. I love hearing the applause, and I love hearing sniffling, because people then are affected. And when you hear the laughter and you hear that kind of thing, you know that somebody is actually hearing the words that you wrote. But a lot of the words I wrote are part of what Gert wrote or Walter said, or that type of thing. It's not just about me.
Medium.
Yes. Yeah. It's not just a book. I love writing books. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the play becomes alive, and the actors do their job. Then it actually, 150 people in a room at a night tells you these people are listening.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, even like I'm a pretty big reader myself, but you're right. I'll take these books. Like, I still haven't read Shoe Dog. The story about Phil Knight, which I feel like if you're from this neck of the woods, which I am, just like I should probably read One Tough Mother, as well. Those are two autobiographies that are almost are required reading, in this neck of the woods. And I have the books, but I still haven't opened them, and I'm a reader. And, for example, let's take your story or your play that you put on about Darcel, and we do have your book here, and we're going to talk about that here at some point too. I still need to read that story, but seeing the play, it brings you in and humanizes somebody at a different level or in a different way. What do you think?
Well, and the thing that I want to say is when somebody writes a book, like I said, history is written by few to be read by many.
Sure.
So what happens, somebody reads a book, they can actually take apart and say, let's not talk about that. That was a hard part of my life. But we'll make sure that it's actually mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Because we know that grandma's still alive and she won't like it and whatever. And the book is published. I'm the opposite. warts and all. Let's tell it all. So when Gert's play, going to the museum in Germany and talking to them, they sent me a 90-page document.
Wow.
And they said, do not share with anybody. And I won't. But what's in there is valuable to the play, and it's not in Gert's book.
So what do you do with that information?
Well, I can use it sparingly to make sure the history I'm telling on stage is correct.
I see. Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Or history that's not being talked about in her book, in the media, whatever. So that excites me, saying, great, I have this document. I can't share it with you, but I can share it on stage, certain parts of it.
Jeez, it's incredible work. So again, that show running now at the time of this taping. It'll be going now. You can go get your tickets over at the Triangle Productions website there. We do have a link to that on KOIN.com as well. I do want to dive into just the life of a playwright, because this is not a life that I know very well,
Okay.
and I'm open about that. But you're a Lucille Ortel nominated playwright, and I want to just understand what that means to you. And for those that haven't heard, what does that award mean?
So, it's a journey. I never thought I'd ever take a show off Broadway. And when you say off Broadway, that's a huge deal because you're in New York. You have to have a general manager. You have a publicist. You have this team that you in Portland. I'm me.
Yeah.
But I'm doing everything myself. Before I got here, I did Facebook and I did Instagram and I made sure the toilet was working in that men's restroom. I tell us in New York, I didn't have to worry about that. And the thing is when I went to New York, taking a show, I knew I had something to say, but would anybody else want to hear it? Right? And it was about an unknown man. Nobody knew about this guy, even though he is historically correct. And I wrote a thick book. You saw the book too. And so what I did was I took a believing, and I had an actor who believed in the show as well. And I didn't have a well-known named actor. So we were fighting all the winds. Nobody knew who he was, didn't know that much about the actor. Who in the friggin' frack is Donnie, right? All this stuff. It became a hit. 5 months we ran. In fact, Wade left the show and Darius came onto the show. So I had two actors doing this role. It's a very difficult role. And then you're nominated for an award. And you want to go, no way. I mean, in Portland, I don't even get an award, right?
Yeah.
I've never been honored, basically, in that respect. And so getting a Lucille Hotel is huge. And then a drama desk, huge. Those are nominations that you don't expect.
Yeah.
We're up against Patrick Page, who is like an icon. And I Gilded Age right now. He's in Gilded Age and things like that. He's touring the show. We were up against him. And somebody said, that's the league that nobody gets when you first come. I'm go, okay. And then we're nominated for a Broadway Allegiance Award, which we won. So here you are. It's amazing. And I'm sitting back going, I'm from the farm, right? I would drive the tractor and get into, the ditches and sing. My dad would always have to pull it out. I did the weird things in life, but this journey has been amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do the show again this year with another play.
Coming up?
Yeah, off Broadway.
Oh, that's exciting. What is it?
It's called Beyond the Flamingos. It's about Divine. And anybody knows about Divine, he was in John Waters' movies. And it's his story before he dies.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when can we expect that?
I'm hoping in October. I'm trying to raise $450,000. If anybody saw that.
Well, and that actually may even lead into one of my questions I have about the life of either a playwright or in production or kind of what you do. You were saying, very much like the one-man band, right? Like you wear a lot of different hats to get these plays on. You don't get to just be a playwright. You don't get to just direct. You kind of have to do it all. And I was wondering you think about the theater and the stage and the lights. You think about glitz and glam. Well, yeah, exactly. How break that wall down, break that myth for us.
Well, if you get up at 4 in the morning like I do,
Uh-huh.
and I leave the house at 4:30 and get to the theater by 5, the first thing I do is grab a cup of coffee. And as I drive to the theater, I think about what the day is going to be like. Or when I'm sleeping at night, I have a pad next to the bed. I always have a pad in the car, in my pocket, everywhere I go, because if I hear something, I write it down. There's got to be a jewel there somewhere I'm going to work with. And then what I do is I have to do accounting, payrolls in 3 days.
Right.
All that stuff has to happen. At the same time, I have to feel my soul. I have to feel that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I'm in directing the show, so I'm actually there, at nighttime at the same time at 5 in the morning. So at 9 o'clock last night when I got home, I said hi to the dog and to my partner, and I went to bed.
Yeah.
The thing is that it's not because I want to be a one-man band. It's that we can't afford to be more than that. Ticket sales are only so much. Grants are only so much. And I write a grant every week.
Jeez.
And you have to figure out what they want and how, and then a lot of times you don't get the grant money. People aren't donating money like they did because of everything else. So you're looking at going, how are we going to afford this?
Yeah.
And we pay every actor and every tech person as an hourly person. So we pay taxes and we pay their Social Security and everything. All those funds have to come from somewhere. And that weighs heavy on me. And then you talk about me taking a show off Broadway, right? And so that's how we're going to raise that kind of money.
Sure.
And then the board looks at me and says, Donnie, I need to tell you something. That money could have gone to Triangle.
Yeah.
But a Triangle is actually going to off Broadway, quote unquote. So it's a circle that I think people don't understand. When you click on the lights and you think the glamour's there, I'm there painting the stage. I actually swept the stage on Saturday, ready for rehearsal on Sunday, because I believe in what I do. I also know, I'm going to probably cry about this, but I know that I'm here for a reason. I wish more people would find their reason, because when you find a reason, you find joy. And it isn't work when you get to do it. My partner said last night, I said, I got to go to bed. I got to shut up and go to sleep. He goes, I'm so glad I don't have your life, because I couldn't live your life. And I go, but I love my life. And a lot of people in this industry loves their life, but at the same time, they only have a part of it. I get to live 24/7, basically.
Yeah.
And being a playwright is really the icing on the cake, because I get to tell somebody else's story. I get to tell people, go see who Gert is. Go see who Walter is behind the mask. Tanya wasn't as evil as everybody thought she was. Gracie Hansen, look what she did. She ran for governor in Oregon in 1970. Look at all these things that you don't know. History needs to be told and shared. And if we don't tell it, who's going to? And then it's going to get lost.
Yeah.
And they always say, you're always remembered until the last person says nothing about you. So remember, always talk about the people you love, people that are around you, your grandma, whoever, that influenced your life, because their memory is your memory, and they should last forever.
I think that's great. I think it's wonderfully said. Okay, we've been talking about your books, and that's what I want to get into next. So we are going to have to take a quick break. But for those of you at home, here I'm gonna pop this up full screen so you can see. We've got all kinds of different. How many? You've published 25 different books.
27.
Right? 27 different books. But we have all of these that. Well, not all 27, but we have several in here that we're going to talk about, including, you mentioned Divine and Darcel, and we're going to talk about those. So I want to get the thoughts inside your mind of what it's like to switch mediums, to go from a playwright to author and just continuing to create. So that is coming up on the other side of this break. Welcome back to KOIN Conversations. Have Donnie Horn with Triangle Productions here on the other side of the table as we've been talking about the life of theater and storytelling, your journey, and a piece of your journey, Donnie, is as an author. Boom. You have 27 different books, and we have, what do we have? 5 of them in here with us right now.
I brought 3 more today, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so no, it's great. It's great. And it's just so fascinating to me because you go from this life as a playwright and in the stage, but you are a published author. What is it like to go from writing a screenplay or a play to a novel?
Well, I want to let you know, when I write a play, I write a book.
Every time, like you pair them together?
Basically.
Really?
And the reason why is I need to know the history. And people ask me how to write a book. So I say, do you have photos? Do you have a timeline? Do you know the day you're born all the way through? So each year you do a timeline. You put the photos in the timeline and you start doing. So when you write a play, you need to know who these people are. So I need to know the backstory. So I actually start writing a book. And then I get the play as I write the book. This is no joke. Now, wow. Gert Boyle is different because there's already a book out on her.
Sure.
But for the most part, that's how I do it. So the book, grows, and I start a deep dive. You don't know how many times I buy a Life magazine, or I'll get another book, or I'll get, stories, and I get records. But I did a show about Flo Ballard, and it was like, I got to get all of her albums. I've got to get all this stuff. I do all that because I want to know as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Again, history needs to be told as they lived it, not as I want to see it.
So how long does that process take from you being like, okay, let's take your book about Divine that you have here. Let's take this moment where you go, okay, I want to share this story, or maybe we do. I mean, have you done production about Divine?
I did 3 readings, one in New York, one in Palm Springs, and one in L.A.
Okay.
That's how we're going to get to New York.
Okay. That's our,
Yeah.
maybe I'll start with Darcel. Well,
Okay.
It's also recency bias because I've seen this one.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
Darcel's story
Yeah.
quite well. So let's take this book. So again, years ago, before last time, you put on the production of Darcel, That's No Lady.
2019 when he was alive, yes.
Mhm. And then again, just this last year. So obviously, you know Walter and Darcel's story so well because you're a dear friend, but you wrote this book still. So
Yeah.
take me into this moment of like, you know what? I want to share this story, and now I need to start writing this story, which I would have thought went straight to a play.
No.
So how did this work?
It was interesting because I don't know if you also know, I got his house on the National Register and the club on the National Register. That was me spearheading that, and also the Street Topper. And also we did an Oregon Historical Society exhibit.
Wow.
And I won an Oregon Heritage Excellent Award for that.
I did not know. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great work.
No, but it was a lot of work.
Yes.
So the thing is that what I did was he had 6,000 square foot home. And I went through his home, found one day I called him Pops. I said, Pops, I'm going to go through the house and look for things. And he goes, Donnie, you can't take anything out of this house. And I said, okay, but I just wanted you to know that I'm going to look at photos and scan them or whatever. And produce. Oh, I got this. Can I take it to the theater and scan because it's too big? Or, go ahead, but bring it back. After a while, it's take it. Just take it. Take it. So out of that, I had so much, and I have it now in storage. And what I did was I scanned, I wrote, I sit him down, and I said, tell me a story. Tell me a story. Tell me a story. And so I have all these recordings of Walter. And I started writing the book and started to figure out how to. So you have to figure out how to write a play too. You just go, I got a play. You have to figure out how does it start, what's the dramatic moments, and how does it end. And those are things. The bookends really work, but you have to have something in the middle as well. Is it going to be a musical? Then I reached out to Tom Grant, and I reached out to Storm Large, and I reached out to Marvin Randy Ross because they had worked with him. And I asked them. I wrote the lyrics, and they helped me write the music. So all of that work, but it starts with paper.
Yeah.
Starts with just stuff, pictures, paper. And that's how I got Divine. That's how I got everything.
That's incredible. That's a lot of writing.
It's a lot. Well, it's a lot of research. You
And a lot
actually
of
said
research.
a lot of times you kind of go, photos don't have dates. Dang it.
Yes.
And so you kind of go, okay, can I find something that matches this photo with something that happened during that time? Oh, that dress. Walter had 1,500 dresses. Okay.
How do I whittle it down from there?
Yeah. So it was the journey was amazing with him because there was jewelry. So I looked at his hairstyles. I looked at who was around. I had to figure this all out. When it came to Gracie, it was the same thing because he was a World's Fair. With Divine, it was easy because they had this period of time they lived in, and John Waters did a great job of making sure things were, categorized. And then there was a point in when it didn't happen. So I had to figure that out. And there was things that his mom and John Waters said that was not true. So in my book, I actually said, this is not true.
Interesting.
And I'm probably going to get some backlash.
Sure.
But I want to make sure that history is spoken correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're in a world of facts in our side of the industry, so that's always appreciated. Donnie, before I let you go, all of your works, where can people find your books?
On Amazon.
Yeah, go snag
Easy.
them there. That's great. And again, if you want to go see what Triangle Productions is up to, the website is
www.trianglepro.org.
Love it. Good luck with your latest run here with
Thank you.
with It's Not All About Me, the Gert Boyle story.
Thank
Really
you.
looking forward to it, and it's been awesome to have you here.
Thank you a lot.